Division with algebra is what we're going to look at in this video. So we're going to start off by looking at some simple questions like this, and then move on to looking at fractions like this, and then looking at indices with numbers, and then something a little bit trickier like this, and finally wrapping up with some difficult questions like this one. So the way my videos work, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do. You are then going to press pause and have a go at the example on the right, which is you do. And the bottom of the slide tells you the type of example this is. So in order to do this, when you are dividing indices like this, you just subtract them. So the answer here is q to the power of 5 minus 3, which just becomes q to the power of 2. Okay, so you just subtract this from this. So hopefully you've pressed pause and had a great example on the right. So it's worth bearing in mind here, the power here is 1, although it's not there. So when the power is not there, you just treat it as 1. So that is just going to be u to the power of 8 minus 1, which is just u to the power of 7. Now moving on, now we can write this exact same thing as a fraction, okay? So you can think of this as the exact same thing as writing that. Okay, so the exact same rule applies. You just subtract the indices, and the final answer is just q cubed. And again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this one. So that's just 4 minus 0, which will just be f to the power of 4. And now looking at this, it can seem like it's a completely different question, but it's not. It's the exact same thing. You can just think of this whole thing as x if you want, and think of this whole thing as x. So the answer here is just going to be x plus 1. I'm just going to rub this off so it's not confusing. 5 minus 2, which then becomes x plus 1 cubed. Okay, you don't need to worry about the bits in the bracket as long as they're both the exact same. Just treat it as the previous example. So again, the exact same thing here. So that's just 3x minus 2. Subtract the powers, so that'll be 8 minus 5. So the final answer is 3x minus 2 with the brackets and then all cubed. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Now moving on, we've now got numbers and we've got indices. So with these, we can do the numbers first. So if I write that out, we can do 15 divided by 5, which gives me 3. So we know the answer has a 3 in it. And then we can do the letters, which is going to be q to the power of 5 divided by q to the power of 3. That's just going to become q to the power of 2. So the final answer is just that, yeah? So we look at the numbers. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And then q to the power of 5 divided by q to the power of 3. Well, you just subtract the two indices, and that gives you the answer there. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So 24 divided by 4 gives us 6. And then u to the power of 8 divided by u to the power of 1 just becomes u to the power of 7. So moving on, again, now it's just written as a fraction. So the exact same rule, 20 and 2. So that's just going to become 20 divided by 2, which is 10. And then if I look at the q, that's just going to be 6 take away 4, which becomes q to the power of 2. And hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So if I look at the numbers, 60 divided by 12, that becomes 5. And then k to the power of 4, take away the 0, that's just a 4 there. So again, here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now moving on, we now have something a little bit trickier because we've now got more than one letter, but the exact same rule applies, okay? Now with these questions, I do recommend that you write them as fractions. It can make things a little bit easier. So if I write the same thing out as a fraction, okay, now all you want to focus is on one bit at a time. If I focus on this, what's 10 divided by 2? That's 5. If I now focus on this, what's x to the power of 4 divided by x? So we're just going to subtract that power from this power. The power here is 1, so 4 minus 1 is 3. And now finally, if I focus on this bit here, that's just going to be 5 take away 3. That is our answer there. Again, I would recommend with this one, you write it as a fraction. It can make life a bit easier. And 6w, no, is that a squared at the end? Awesome. And again, let's focus on one bit at a time. That becomes 6. That becomes 2, so squared. And then that becomes 5 minus 2, which is 3. Now, moving on, again, I'm going to write this as a fraction to make my life easier. So we have 14t n cubed m4. Divide that by nm. Now, with the numbers, there's nothing other than 14. So we just write 14. That's that done. With the t, there's only one t, and there's nothing at the bottom that has a t. So we write the t. And with the n, we do have an n at the top and the bottom. We can subtract them too. That becomes n squared. And with the m, we have an m at the top and the bottom. That just becomes m cubed. Okay, so notice we don't do anything to 14 because there's no 14 at the bottom. We don't do anything to the t because there's no t at the bottom. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a great example on the right. So again, to make my life easier, I'm going to write this as a fraction. It just makes it a lot easier to see things. 6v w squared. Okay, with the numbers, 36 and 6, so that just becomes 6. P squared, there's nothing to go with it, so we just have p squared. Now with w, we do have a w at the bottom. That becomes, v squared. And then with the w, that becomes w squared as well. So moving on, again, writing this as a fraction. Right, so 14 stays, the ends cancel out. Now notice, this is the same as saying, well, what is n to the power of 1 divided by n to the power of 1? That'll just be n to the power of 1 minus 1, which is equal to n to the power of 0. Now you can write n to the power of 0 here, but n to the power of 0 is just 1. Any number raised to the power of 0 is just 1. So here, the ends just cancel out basically, so we can just ignore them. We can almost just say, well, that and that just cancel out with each other because there's 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. Now with the final one, we have m at the top and m to the power of 0 at the bottom, so we can just do 4 take away 0, which is just 4. And that is our answer there. So now again, on the right, so 9 and 3, that becomes a 3. Now the p's just cancel out. There's 1 p at the top, 1 at the bottom. That can just cancel out. Now with n, there's 6 n's at the top and 1 at the bottom, so we just do 6 take away 1. And that's the answer there. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. So now looking at it, the exact same thing in fraction form. So 10 and 2, that becomes 5. That becomes x, and that becomes y. And again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So that's 4x squared y squared. Now with this one, there's 2 steps. You first want to tidy this up, okay? So we're going to first tidy this up and you'll see why. So if I tidy that up, that becomes 12y to the power of 4. So that's 3 times 4 gives us 12, and y times y cubed gives us y to the power of 4. The bottom stays the same. That's the first step done. Now, her life's a lot easier. Well, 12 goes into 2 6 times, and then with the y, that's just 4 minus 2. That gives you the 2. That is your final answer. So again, 2 steps. Step 1, tidy the top up. So that's 2 times 10 is 20. Y cubed times y squared is y to the power of 5, and we're left with 4y. Now 4 and 20, that becomes 5. And then we have y to the power of 5 divided by y. That's just y to the power of 4. Now with this one, again, tidy the top up. So that's 7y to the power of 4 divided by 3. Now this can't be simplified any further. 7 and 3 can't be divided by each other. It'll leave a decimal, and y to the power of 4, there's no y at the bottom. So that is our final answer here. And on the right, we have 20y squared divided by 2. Now the numbers can be simplified. 20 goes into 2 10 times. So that gives us that. And then we have the y squared. Now moving on with this one, again, tidy the top up first. So that's 12y cubed y to the power of 4. And then at the bottom, we have 2xy squared. And that becomes 6 because 2 goes into 12 6 times. And then we have x squared there. And then y squared as well. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause now to go at this one. So do the top first. So 4 times 2 is 8. X times x is x squared. X to the power of 2 times x to the power of 3 becomes y to the power of 5. And then that's just 2xy squared. Now the numbers can simplify to 4. The x can simplify to an x. The y can simplify to a 3. Moving on. So this just becomes 12. Again, the top first. So that'll be 12x cubed y4 divided by 2x. That becomes 6x squared y4. And on the right, we have 2x4 y6. Divide that by 10y, which then becomes x4 y5. Divide that by 5. So yeah, notice here, the numbers simplify. Yeah, but the way they simplify here is there's a 2 at the top. So divide that by 2, that becomes 1. Divide that by 2, that becomes 5. Okay, so there's a 5 is now at the bottom. It's not at the top. So just taking a bit of care there with this, and that is a final answer here. Here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, if you would like some more practice on this, I've got a full worksheet on this over on my website. I'll link it down in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, I've got loads of other content like this over on my YouTube channel.